edit. Okay, cool. All right. Hey, everybody. Dave Curtis, Corporal with the Ventura Police Department Traffic Unit, and Officer Alex Garcia. We're here to talk to you today about e-bikes in our community and how we're going about dealing with those things and the enforcement and some education so that you guys understand what's legal to ride around the city of Ventura, where you can ride these things, and the laws that apply to them in whatever gradient that they're in. All right. The idea behind all of this is that we provide a proactive enforcement for vehicle code laws. Our general goal and kind of job orientation in the traffic unit is to reduce traffic collisions, which include bicycles, electronic or otherwise. Traffic collision investigations and reconstructions, so what that means from a traffic view is that if there's a crash, we need to know how that happened. Officer Garcia, the other officers in the unit, and myself do what's called a reconstruction. We take all the pieces of evidence, scratches on the road, tire friction marks, the cars themselves, and we put all that back together to kind of demonstrate how the crash actually occurred and determine parties at fault. We give recommendations to the city for improvements at traffic control for intersections. You know, as population changes, infrastructure sometimes needs to change to accommodate for volume, speeds, and things of that nature. So we have a good relationship with the city to try to mitigate some of those issues and make sure that our traffic collisions stay down and the injuries and fatalities stay low. We manage special events, the X Games, Ventura County Fair, marathons, you name it, whatever comes through the city. A lot of those traffic control plans come through the traffic unit. We vet them, make sure that they're safe, keeping both the attendees safe as well as the community, and get those all put out. And then of course, community education, which is what we're doing today, trying to ensure that everybody understands what's safe, what's reasonable, what the laws are pertaining to e-bikes and things like that. We have seen an increase in crime related to e-bikes. There has been an uptick in e-bikes being used as a mode or means of arrival and departure from various crimes, be it assaults with deadly weapon, burglary, residential burglaries, robberies, you name it. They're quiet, they're fast, and they're easy to move around on, and they're a little unsuspecting because everybody's got one these days, it seems. The unsafe and illegal riding aspect of things, people riding wheelies in congested traffic lanes, up and down the street in congested areas, on the sidewalk at speed, going the wrong direction, which is a serious causation of crash with any form of bicycle, much less electronic ones. And then increased community concerns, such as riding e-bikes through Main Street moves, age of kids that are riding them, whether they're riding them appropriately safety outfitted with helmets and whatnot, and things of that nature. Okay, what do we got next? So here's some examples of unsafe riding practice. These are all pulled off of social media sites from free, willing individuals that posted them to their social media platforms. If you just hit next on the button, it should activate the videos themselves. So here, this looks like it's Ventura Avenue up near Shoshone. As you can see, he's riding, nearly colliding with multiple vehicles along the way in the lanes of traffic. It's actually the two-way left-hand turn lane. We're now down at Kellogg. These guys are on Main Street over by the high school. I know exactly who that is. This looks like it's on Telephone Road over by the mobile home parks. And posted speed limit, if anybody doesn't know, on Telephone Road in this general area is 45 miles an hour. And these guys, they'll do 30, give or take. You have passing traffic there in the lane. He almost swerved in front of that Prius. Again, I think this looks like it's Telephone Road too. So, and then last but not least, over on the avenue again. So just kind of some of the stuff that they're doing, riding these things around the city. Unfortunately, there are some platforms where this is now called swerving, I think it is.
Swerving.
Yeah, where it's a competitive event where they move toward an object to see how close they can get before moving out of the way of said object, which is in the competition's stationary. But regardless, it's dangerous, okay? What we're gonna cover today is different classifications of e-bikes. What you're seeing here right now is actually a motorcycle. all right? Albeit, yes, it has an electronic motor, it's still a motorcycle, and we'll get into that. Electronic dirt bike and motorcycle regulations, state and local laws surrounding appropriate use, and then education and enforcement, how we're trying to go around educating, and then how we're also enforcing these things moving forward. All right, so e-bicycles, which is what we see up here, all right? Class 1 is like any other standard bicycle that does not have an electronic propulsion system, except that you add in an electric motor and a battery. Now, Class 1 will only activate the motor in the event that you are pedaling actively, and you can turn up or turn down how much the motor gives an assist in your effort. You know, you can give like a 50% plus, 100% plus, and I think some of them go up to like 300% of whatever effort you're putting into the bike, and it's usually measured on wattage, okay? The motor will stop assisting you in pedaling once the bike reaches 20 miles an hour. And anybody can ride these anywhere you can ride a bicycle legally. The same thing exists with the Class 2, where it's going to have a pedal set up. The motor will assist in that pedaling. You also have the opportunity of not pedaling if you don't want to. And you just twist the throttle, and the throttle will accelerate the bicycle up to 20 miles an hour on a flat level surface, and the bike will maintain that speed until battery runs out, basically. There is no requirement on a Class 2 bike that you pedal to get propulsion, okay? And again, you can ride those anywhere that normal bicycles are permitted. Age doesn't matter. Where it changes is Class 3. So once you can't ride a Class 3 bike until you're of legal driving age, so 16 and older, okay? These bicycles, Class 3s, are limited to 28 miles per hour. So if the bicycle exceeds 20 miles an hour but does not exceed 28 miles an hour, it's a Class 3 bicycle, all right? Everybody riding a Class 3 bicycle has to wear a helmet. Doesn't matter if it's me, Officer Garcia, you're in your 70s, or you're 17 years of age. You have to wear a bicycle helmet riding a Class 3 bike. And then they are a pedal assist only. Some of the manufacturers do have a throttle aspect to these. It just depends on how they wire them. Some confusion around electronic bicycles is that federal regulation says that electronic bicycles are 1,000 watt engines or battery power, okay? The state of California, however, says that it's 750 watts, not 1,000 watts. So if you're purchasing an electronic bicycle that has a 1,000 watt motor, you are out of compliance with California state law. And then depending on how fast it goes, then it falls under certain categories and things of that nature. So if that question does come up, that's an issue, okay? Next. Motorcycles or motor-driven cycles. So what a motor-driven cycle is, or what a motorcycle is, varies only by engine size. Motor-driven cycles and motorcycles are the same thing, except that a motor-driven cycle is anything under 150 cc's. I think on horsepower is somewhere around, what, like 6 or 7 horse? 6, 7. Something like that, maybe 10, but it depends on the motor. In order to ride a motor-driven cycle or a motorcycle or moped or even an electric dirt bike, you have to have a license to do so, okay? Mopeds, however, you can have an M1 to ride any motorcycle, and that supersedes an M2. An M2 is mopeds only. What a moped is that it lives in that space between 28 miles an hour, where a Class 3 bicycle is, and 30 miles an hour, which is the extent of speed that a moped can go. So if a moped moves faster than 30 miles per hour, whether it's gas powered or electric, it becomes a motor driven cycle at that point, okay? Motor driven cycles cannot be ridden on the freeway, okay? They can only be ridden on surface streets. So if your vehicle that you're operating is under 150 cc's, you can't go on a freeway with it. Everybody on all of these vehicles has to wear an appropriate DOT type helmet, okay? All of them require a registration in some capacity. Mopeds are more of a application that you self-fill and submit to Sacramento, and then Sacramento looks to make sure that you checked all the appropriate boxes, and it issues you a registration for a moped. It's like a one-time lifetime fee. All the rest of them come with an annual re-up for registration, just like your car does. Where things change is these guys over here on the far right. They've been designed by a number of companies: Suron, Segway, Talaria, RAR, I think.
There's several.
Yeah. So what these things are is anywhere from, call it 2,500 watts to 6,000 watts on a battery pack. Rough translation, 6,000 watts is around 8-9 horsepower, but it's electric power, so it's a little bit different than a combustion engine. All of the ones that are the main manufacturers will do 47 miles an hour out of the box, no questions asked. All right. That moves them into, by speed alone, into a motor-driven cycle capacity. All right. Aside from Talaria, I'm not aware of any other manufacturer that sells them as a road-going version. In other words, Talaria sells one trim model of their bike that has a headlight, a working brake lamp, turn signals, and the whole 9 yards. Even comes with an illuminated license plate holder. Most of them now, the first versions came with a 15-digit vehicle identification number. They're all coming out now with a 17-digit vehicle identification number. Can be registered. How they are registered is as an off-highway vehicle, which means that you can only ride them in appropriate state-provided off-highway areas. And in the county of Ventura, none of those exist. Correct. So what that means is that you can't ride it on public streets. You can't be 14 riding it with your bicycle helmet. And if you are on the street, you have to have it registered legally for road use. You have to be wearing a DOT helmet, and you have to be a licensed motorcycle license holder to do so. So there's a lot of issues if we start finding these things on the road. And of the half a dozen to dozen that we've stopped over the last several years, we've found 2 of them that are currently registered as mopeds, and 2 more now that have been legitimately registered as off-highway vehicles. So they have a green sticker to ride off-highway areas. But again, if it's an off-highway vehicle, you can't ride it on city streets because they're on highway. All right. Next. Pocket bikes are basically what you see here. These are designed and intended for private property use only. They have no business being on any publicly owned or used locations at all. There are 2 vehicle codes that exist that are specifically designed around these. One is to identify them and issue a ticket for the purposes of riding them in public areas, and the other vehicle code that exists for it is the authority to tow it if found riding it on public streets. You can only use them on private property. If you got large, horse stall area or something like that, and you're using it to get out to the barns or way to the back end of your property or something like that, you're perfectly fine. But the minute that this ends up in a parking lot somewhere or on the road, all bets are off. Okay. Next. So what we're doing, I'm going to have Officer Garcia go ahead and handle this.
Yeah, so everybody, Officer Garcia, Ventura Police Department, and with the motor unit again. Obviously, one thing that we're doing is enforcement. We've taken a lot of time educating the public and giving flyers, podcasts, videos, and now we're coming out and enforcing these rules and traffic violations that we're seeing out on the roadways. One thing that we're doing is increasing our enhanced patrol downtown. When time permits, officers are either walking or driving through the downtown area, such as Main Street moves, to be able to enforce these various violations that we're seeing. We're issuing citations. So one of the common themes that we're seeing are with the electric motorcycles, such as the Talarias or the Surons, where again, they are off-highway vehicles. They are not allowed to be on city streets, sidewalks, anywhere in the county of Ventura. They can't be used. So what we do is we actually enforce it through the no registration. So these vehicles aren't registered, and there are authority codes for us to be able to do a tow impound for those. That is why we are impounding them, and at that point, the individuals will have to get that out of the tow yards by paying whatever fines are applicable at that time. One thing that we are doing is working with our school resource officers and these schools so that in case it is a contact with a juvenile, we are also calling the parents and advising them of what is happening. Number 2, we're letting them know that by them permitting their children to be driving these vehicles, which are off-highway vehicles, since they're not licensed, it is illegal for a parent to allow their juvenile and unlicensed driver to be operating a vehicle. That's one thing that, that we've been discussing with a lot of parents, and we've had a lot of cooperation with parents understanding the rules of what's acceptable and what isn't. There are, at times, we do lead to arrests. So as certain individuals will tend to flee from a police officer during these contacts, it is very important that, one, we do it safely, and number two, that when they are contacted, there are repercussions. It could be going to juvenile hall, or if they are an adult, going to the Ventura County Jail. That is, of course, as time permits, we're enforcing these laws, and we're ensuring that these people aren't driving these illegal vehicles on the roadways. These are more examples of the electric motorcycles that we're seeing. And the unfortunate thing is that parents want to be able to get their child the next best thing, or even adults want to get the best next thing. They see these things on YouTube or various social media platforms, and they look cool, they go fast, they think it's legal, or maybe they think it's, maybe they know it's not legal, but they think they can get away with it. Here on the right, we have a purple, I believe this one was a Suron. This one was impounded. It was in the downtown area, I believe about a year or two ago. The individual was a juvenile. He did have a passenger riding on the back. Thankfully, in this case, they did stop and they were contacted. We spoke with the parents, and the juvenile, while the vehicle was towed, referenced lack of registration, the juvenile did get a warning, and we spoke to the parent about the implications of driving these on the city roadways. Here we have several other similar electric motorcycles. Again, these are not legal. You cannot be using these on the roadways. This video here was obtained, again, through social media, publicly posted, not a private page. What we're doing further is, again, we're educating the public. We've sent out flyers, we've done podcast videos. Corporal Curtis has been able to speak on further podcasts about the education and the repercussions of driving these vehicles on the city roadways. We have a dedicated webpage. You can all visit thecityofventura.ca.gov/ebikes. We've done a wonderful job on explaining the topics that we've discussed here on our PowerPoint on this website, so you can have tangible information that you can go to at any time and to speak with your children and family and loved ones. Social media, we have shared information on Facebook, Instagram, X, known as Twitter, and Nextdoor. We have sent out the halfway sheets. They're little flyers. They are in English. We have sent them as well. On the backside, there's a Spanish version of it as well that discusses the class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes, the rules, how they operate, and what makes them those classified vehicles, and the requirements for helmets as well. We have shared at community events. We have gone to schools with the Ventura Unified School District. We have talked to the middle schools just to get more involvement from the parents and the teachers, since they're the ones who are on a day-to-day basis contacting these students who are going onto campuses with these bikes to the bike racks. And a lot of the times the school staff, they don't know any better. So this is one way that we've had more cooperation with schools and parents. And aside with doing also council meetings, where obviously this is a huge topic with the residents of the city of Ventura. E-bikes and the regulations and the do's and don'ts is one thing that, that everyone is very interested in. And all the motorists want to be able to drive safely without getting in a collision with one of these e-bikes which are being ridden the wrong way. We have done our workshops. This is our second workshop, and we're very excited for the attendance today. We have further activities. We have dedicated Ventura Police Department page, and which again we've mailed to all the Ventura residents. And we have the Ventura Voices podcast, episode 4. Corporal David Curtis here was our star guest, where he was able to discuss about the e-bikes and the rules of the road, and what it is that parents can do and adults can do to be able to ride and operate safely. You can listen to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, and YouTube. Furthermore, for the mailers, we have done approximately 17,600 homes that have received these flyers. We are taking this very serious. The residents are counting on us as a police department to not only educate the public, but enforce it. And one way that we like to lead is with education first. We have done paid advertising on Ventura Breezeway, the Ventura County Reporter, and posters in the downtown area. KVTA Radio, Corporal David Curtis as well, went on there and he was live on their show where he discussed the topics that we're discussing today. We have done back to school nights. So one way that we want to contact the students and the parents and staff is by getting a hold of everybody all at once. And that's with the back to school nights. We've attended Balboa Middle School, Anacapa, Cabrillo, and Data Middle School to further discuss the rules and the rules of the road and how to drive safely and be able to have our children commute on these e-bikes, but how to do it safely. We've had opinion editorials on the Ventura County Star, Auto Center billboards, advertising to more than 150,000 vehicles per day. Ventura Unified School District, we have newsletters that are being sent electronically to the parents. Again, we are working with different languages, so we do have our English and Spanish versions, and community council. So our Ventura Police Department commanders have provided updates at all the 7 community councils where we are proactively working with everybody in our communities so that we can be able to educate the public.
Yeah, there we go.
Corporal?
And then so there's a Ride Ready skills class that's a 1-hour session. I think it's tentatively slated for sometime in end of November. Is it monthly? Okay. This is going on through the city of Ventura, and it covers bike safety, maintenance, road lane positioning, direction of travel, law, and just general safety across the board, how to properly fit your helmets, everything pertaining to the safety aspect of riding a bicycle. In my opinion, lane position or just position in general is a serious issue because most people think you need to ride facing cars as they're oncoming toward you. The reality of it is moving with the flow of traffic is what the vehicle code states that you're supposed to do as a bicyclist. More importantly, your distance away from the curb, but as close as you should legally be, gives vehicles at intersections more of a line of sight to you not being on the sidewalk, which is where a lot of people on bicycles do ride. So statistically speaking, your safest place is, as the vehicle code states, riding the proper direction with cars near the curb. So some of the other things that they do show you throughout the Ride Ready classes, how to get across town without being in the road as much as possible. We're working on building more bike-friendly routes across the city. It's part of the city's plan. How to, simple bicycle maintenance stuff. You get a flat, get a thorn in your tire. A lot of bicycles are going tubeless these days, which is actually kind of nice because they put sealants in those things and they seal up pretty fast and you keep riding. But at the end of the day, our overall goal as an agency with, the police department, as a city that is a coastal community and has a lot of people that ride bicycles either for leisure or for travel, whatever the case may be, the overall goal here is to make sure that everybody's being safe. And we understand that there are some people that are just going to naturally be unruly, and it is what it is. And we'll deal with them accordingly. But the overall community, we just want to make sure everybody's good, safe, and having fun on their bicycles. So does anybody have any questions or concerns for us that we didn't cover today? Ma'am?
No, a lot of people out there don't wear helmets.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't. I myself just purchased a bike from they do the used bikes, the next to 7-Eleven on Ventura.
Yes, they're also one of the major contributors for this course as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're very nice. They're very helpful. They help me, get in the bike. It turns out some one bike is too heavy for me, so I, try to go a light one. But they're still very good. They're very good. But yeah, the helmet part is there's a lot of people who have helmets. And at first I thought, okay, maybe it's a California thing because I don't wear helmets out here.
It could. You don't want to mess up your hair. You know, and that's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, you plan for the situation that you don't anticipate, right? And so, and if you come off of a bicycle, say you're riding a normal adult-sized bicycle, the last thing to touch the ground is going to be your head, generally speaking. And as you fall, your head just continues to grab velocity. It goes faster and faster and faster. And by the time you actually hit your head on the ground, you're carrying a lot of speed. And if you don't have anything to slow your head down in a safe manner, which is what the helmet's designed to do, right? The foam collapses and it keeps your head safe. Bad things happen. You get fractured skull, you get a brain bleed, whatever the case may be. So regardless of where it is that you're going, what your intention is, you never know what might happen. Somebody just might not see you. Accidents happen. Accidents are accidents, you know, and we have crashes every day. Okay, nobody intends for those to happen. But if you're not properly prepared, wearing a helmet and other, you know, reasonable protective gear, you're setting yourself up for a bad day. I even advocate for lights, and I ride routinely. I have a flashing light even during the daytime on the front and the back of my bicycle, simply because that pulsing light just it grabs your attention, right? It's like we have emergency lights on our motorcycles. We go after somebody for speed or whatever the case may be. There's an emergency flashing light because it captures your attention because it's flashing, right? Either in your periphery or whatever the case may be. So daytime, nighttime, have lights on your bikes. At night, you're required to have them, okay? During the daytime, it's just another thing that's going to help you out. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
If I wanted to talk to someone about outline electric bikes on bike paths and sidewalks, how would I go about it?
I recommend, and this is based on experience, recommend that you go to your California legislative body, reach out to your representatives, reach out to city council as far as what we can do here in the city. But of course, we want to go further, right? We want to be able to get these laws passed at a state level. As we all know, these electronic devices, these e-bikes, these electric scooters, electric skateboards, there's different variances that are coming out and which are now commonly being referred to as e-devices. The laws are attempting to catch up, and these laws won't catch up sooner than later unless we are all reaching out to our legislative bodies and our representatives and having our voices be heard. Again, as police, we're enforcing the laws. We're not creating them. So without having your support and being able to reach out to the legislative bodies, whether it's at a city level, county, or statewide, it's a thing where our hands are tied. That is one thing where we get a lot of questions. One of the common questions is, can these e-bikes be ridden on sidewalks? The answer is yes. For me, it's scary that someone's going 28 miles per hour on the sidewalk when I'm walking with my 2-year-old, right? Our 2-year-olds are unpredictable. They're running around, they're dancing, whatever it is, they're distracted, and then you have somebody zooming by you 28 miles per hour. But the thing is that it's legal. You can ride your bicycle on the sidewalk. We have other questions that we've had, or just people strongly feeling about having a requirement for all e-bikes to have a license. Regardless of age, if you were to get an e-bike, people want a license for it. Again, please reach out to your legislative body to see that your voice can be heard and to see if there's something that could be done at a state level for these requirements. Again, we're only working with what we have. And right now what we have is enforcing the rules of the road. Bicycles have to be ridden in the same fashion as a vehicle, right? Bicycles stop for stop signs. They stop for red lights. They proceed with the flow of traffic, right? They're not cutting across traffic like a vehicle. So with these rules of the road, that's what we're enforcing with the bicycles, okay? And again, one thing that for the bicycles is that you cannot, for now, enforce people riding on the sidewalks because that is legal. These educational pieces are amazing as far as being able to take the time to sit down for yourself to further educate yourself on the rules of the road. I'm the first one to say that there is an idea that a lot of these violations of these e-bikes are juvenile related. Being a traffic officer and being out there on my motorcycle and enforcing traffic violations, I see a lot of rules of the road being broken by adults as well. So as adults, we have to pave the road for our juveniles who are looking up to us and being examples of how to ride appropriately, right? If they're going to school and they're running red lights, nearly causing collisions, but they're seeing the adults do it, it doesn't set a good example. So as far as what we do, we are not biased. We will contact juveniles equally as we do adults, because we have to set the standard that these rules of the road need to be adhered to so that everyone can commute, whether it be to school or work or just for leisure, safely. Any other questions?
All right. Thank you for your time.
This concludes our PowerPoint. Again, please visit our website, social media. You can go to YouTube, Twitter, X, or Facebook or Instagram, and you can get further information from us there. Thank you.
Thanks.